Hey, it's your girl Nancy Red, and this is season 3 of Mompreneurs on MadameNoire, where we celebrate beautiful black entrepreneurs every week who are also amazing moms. I'm chatting with my guests about their businesses, their families, their inspiring journeys, and they're giving us some incredible advice. Now, I know that a lot of our listeners have hopes and dreams of starting their own business, and they just don't know when they're going to get to squeeze it in. There's always something else to do other than follow their dreams. But our next entrepreneur, or mompreneur, has had a calling for years deep inside of her that she knew could help other people as well as help herself. And the minute that opportunity knocked, giving her the time and space that she needed in an unexpected way, but a blessing nonetheless, she jumped right on it, turning a setback into a setup. Now, Melissa Ingram is the mastermind behind Not About Me, which isn't just a community with events and leadership, but also it features other resources and has a 30-day devotional journal with a wonderful interactive component and so much more. Melissa, we are so excited to have you here talking with us.
Thank you. No, thank you, Nancy. I've been looking forward to this all week, all month. This is a highlight of my day for sure.
Amazing. And did my introduction do you justice for the incredible lifestyle community that you are creating?
Absolutely, because guess what? It's not about me.
It is not about you. And before we get too much into the business side of things, though, I want to get a little personal.
Yeah.
Who in your life puts the mom in mompreneur? Who's in your household?
So I have Micah Michelle, who is who's a teen, 13. And that is the first one to call me mom. And then I have Dalton James, who is 4 and who is all boy, brings a lot of energy into the household. So those are my 2 gifts that God has entrusted me with to rear and to guide. And I tell them all the time, I read this somewhere and it's stuck with me, even with my relationship with my mom. Be kind and patient with me because I'm doing life for the first time too.
Oh, that's a message I need to hear today, girl.
Yes, every day, right? Every day.
We all are, and it is really hard. And the kids are an inspiration for you. Do you think that you would have started this company if it had not been for their existence?
You know what? I do believe at some point God would have brought me around to it. But I definitely was inspired. I wrote It's Not About Me, the 30-day devotional journal, a year after my son was born. So I have a pandemic baby. He was born 2 weeks after the world shut down. And I was in a space where I was really needing to hear from God. And so I wrote this thinking I was speaking, God was speaking to me through the writings. And then fast forward 2023, the product I was working on at a big tech company was completely shuttered and everybody got laid off. And I heard God very clearly say, one of your necks is sitting right in front of you. So had it not been in that season of having a child and sort of new life, being in the house and being isolated with COVID, I don't know if this would have happened as soon as it would have happened. So my children are definitely an inspiration for my writing and for getting it done.
I love it. And I think that's so great because that perhaps when your son was born in a pandemic, you don't have the community around you. Right. You had to lean into literally your faith because there was not much else you could lean into. And it caused you to have this moment where you just spit this out.
Yeah. And what's so funny, Nancy, is I spit it out and I was like, okay, all done. Good. Okay. And I was going back and I was referring to various days to help me get through the next day. And then happens to just, this season of having time, right? Getting a severance and being able to sort of spend more time with my family. And I realized that so many people around us, Nancy, are hurting, are trying to figure out, like, why am I here? Are saying there's got to be so much more than just waking up, grinding, going to work, coming home, going through the motions, which so many of us do on a day-to-day, which I was doing, right? I was literally just on autopilot. And I felt like this was the time for me to actually share what God had shared with me to help people know that there is so much more to this life and that it truly is a purpose And it's often found in your service and how do you serve others. I tell people your passion is about you. Your purpose is about others, right? And how you are helping others. So if you find yourself trying to distinguish between those two, if it's all about you and about making money and the light and there's nothing wrong with that. But you were put here for a reason, and that reason is often it's bigger than you. It's bigger than you.
It's not about you.
It's not about you.
It's not about me. Okay, so tell our audience what Not About Me is. And obviously the inspiration was you were sitting there, a very vulnerable time.
Yeah.
Sleep deprived, overwhelmed.
All of those things and asking myself, right, like what more is there to life? We've always in our household tried to instill servant leadership. We have family values here in this household, 2 G's, 2 S's, right? Grace and grit, and servant leadership and stewardship, right? And so we'll talk more about those. But we are a household that believes in values and purpose. And I've also grown up in a household with my dad, who's a minister, and my mom, who's taught in inner city high school for most of her life and her career. It's not lost on me the power in giving and serving others. And so when I finally had the time to get this published, and I have to give you a shout out, girl, because you know I can't come in here and not give you a shout out. We met at a time when I was like, okay, I wrote this thing, and you even
you were in a totally different company. You were living your life,
right,
doing your thing, right. And it was just like, I wrote this thing. It's just kind of sitting here,
right? And you were like, okay, send it to me, and I did, and you were so gracious, and you gave me what I love. You gave me feedback, and you were like, you need to do a focus group. And so I finally did that focus group when I had the time, when I was in the season of unemployment, and
we'll call it the season of severance.
The season of severance. I like to call it a sabbatical, because I do believe that's what it is. It's a sabbatical, and I needed the rest. And so out of that focus group, it was like, wow, okay, this isn't just a journal. There is a community of people who want to come together, who are like-minded, and who are all asking the same questions, and I think can be inspired by one another. And so we have this motto of say it, wear it, live it, for Not About Me. So Not About Me is a community. And we like to say that we're empowering people, right? Not just to say it, and not just to wear it because we've got clothing and merch and stuff, but to most importantly, to live it out loud. And so it's a vibrant Christian community. This journal, this first edition, is written for my female sisters, but men, you can drop the sis and you can read it too. And there will be other editions of it. But the community at large is bigger than just women. It is anybody who is hoping to live a life that mirrors the life of Jesus Christ. I say it to my children all the time. Christ is our greatest example of how to live. He was human, he was flesh, but he lived a life and ultimately gave his life for others. And so on a day-to-day, how do you be the hands and the feet and the mouths that exemplifies him and his love? Because at the end of the day, it's about love.
And I remember when I first saw the title, even I was just like, "Oh my gosh!" The title alone is very evocative, because it can make you feel like you're being warned. It can make you feel like you're being admonished. It can make you feel like you're being on the right path. How did you come up with the title? Like, was the title? It was part of the initial writing of the book when you had this baby in the pandemic, or did it come to you later?
No, the title came, I'd say that's probably been the consistent thing, right? I mean, there's been variations. It ain't about you. And I said, no, that's a little bit too, I'm not trying
we'll
to
save
judge.
That for the cookout.
Right? I was like, we're not trying to judge anybody here. And there just finally landed on, and then it's not about you, sis. And then I think it says a lot to just say it's not about me, right? Because this was a personal declaration that I was making, but hopefully when people read it, they can say out loud, when they say it, they're saying to themselves and professing it. It's not about me, right? I don't want to tell you, Nancy, it's not about you, but you saying it's not about me, there's power in that, in affirming that. So And then God,
affirmations is a big part of this.
A big part of this, right? That we not only sort of read God's word and read the devotion, but we reflect on it through journal prompts. And there's plenty of space in here to write. But also we refresh ourselves and renew ourselves through song. And we recite every day a mantra, an affirmation over our life. And over our day. And hopefully you take these into the week and into the year, because I tell people, look, you can do this 30 days or you can do it once a week, whatever your pleasure is. Do a devotion once a week, do it at your pace, but don't do it alone. And that's been, I think, the heart of Not About Me is community.
And that's the alone part is like how a lot of people, it's the chicken or the egg, right? You need this because you feel alone.
Yeah.
But if you're alone, you don't have anybody to do this with.
Right.
And that's where Not About Me, the company, is trying to fill the void.
Exactly. And bringing people together. And it can be intimidating, right? To meet people that you don't know or but also I think it takes a little bit of that edge off for some people, right? Like these people don't know me, so I can come in here and I can really say and be honest and sort of like let my hair down. Because they don't know me, they don't judge me, they don't know my history, they don't know my past. But the hope is that everybody is connected in a deeper way of saying like, yeah, like let's change this world by leading through service. Like, let's get on one accord and like stop the bickering and stop all of these are our differences. And like, if we can all agree, it's not about us and we were put here for something so much bigger than us. Man, I get chills sometimes when I think about the movement and how we can change this culture that we're in if we all simply adopted, hey, it's not about me as a mother, right? Like we've been living that. It's definitely not about me when it comes to these children, right? And putting them first.
And that I think is what the irony is. What's really great about the opportunity is because it's not about you. But ironically, when you're filling out this devotional or in your little group, it is about you. You know, and full disclosure, I have been fortunate enough to go through the practices, and it's really wonderful what happens when you do carve out some time to remind yourself that it's not about you, but spending some time for yourself. The juxtaposition.
Hilarious. It really is. And I like to say God is funny. He has a great sense of humor. But you're right, Nancy, like taking the time to be still and to reflect on your life and where you've been and the things that you've gone through to ultimately remind yourself that none of this is about you. It's a powerful exercise, right? But you got to kind of spend that time with yourself in order to get there. To that space.
And Not About Me is service entrepreneurship, but it is entrepreneurship, right?
Yes.
And with that comes all of the things like filling orders, coming up with a game plan,
marketing strategy, yes,
and something that is not. It's very frustrating, but it's a necessity. Is promoting of the product, right?
So hard.
What aspects of these? Because you come from corporate America, you're behind the scenes. You get to be the one watching everyone else do that.
Right.
What's different about now? Now you have to you have to put a brave face on, luckily a beautiful face, and you have to get out there and spread the word.
And you have to do it. And I'm grateful for the community that has helped me spread this word. And every week I get reminded that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing right now in this season. But I will say, I think the hardest part for me is like, okay, I got to post weekly and I got to come up, not just post, but you got to come up with the content and then you got to design the content. Wait a minute. I used to have a designer I could say, hey, let's design this. And I'd have a marketing team that does all that. And then you got to figure out like, who am I targeting? Do I want to boost this? Do I not want to boost this? Okay. Did this work? Okay. Maybe next week I got to try a whole new different design or a different way of communicating. Are the hashtags right? Do I add music? Do I not add music? Like it's all of these things that I honestly, sometimes, some days I'm like, this is tough, right? Did I drink enough water? Did I do the post? Did I walk the dog? Did the kids get out on time with everything that they needed? Is dinner made? Like all of these things. And then you're running a business.
You're running a business.
You're running a business and you're doing it, I mean, initially alone, right? But I will say that I've been blessed with people like you, Nancy, and with so many friends who have said, okay, I want to help you with this. I want to help you find my background is supply chain. I want to help you bring down your cost on this. I want to help you from marketing perspective. And I've got ideas. So I've been blessed for people to come to me and say, hey, I've got ideas and I want to help execute. I just want to give you the ideas, but I want to help you execute.
But you put yourself out there. That's the thing. I think, what is your advice to other people? Because a lot of people have pools that they can reach into, but it's terrifying asking.
It is. I'm one of those, Nancy, right? But a closed mouth doesn't get fed. And honestly, I'd say one, you just got to do. It's not going to be perfect. I think particularly as mothers, right? And type A women, we think, okay, it's got to look like this and it's got to be packaged and everything has to be in place. And I've got to have this countdown. And I'll never forget, somebody was like, it's not going to be perfect. Every word isn't going to be spelled. It's not going to be absolutely pristine, but you put it out there and you evolve and you grow and you get better and you get better. And so I'm excited because I know a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, this is not going to look like what it did on day one. And that's the beauty of it, being able to see the process, to go through the process and to see the evolution of Not About Me.
But you can't get there if you don't start with day one.
Day one, that's it. You got to start somewhere and you got to put one foot in front of the other. And I like to remind myself, Nancy, every day isn't good, but God is. And so I rest in that. Not that my day is going to be good, but that He is. So regardless of all the chaos, and I didn't get to go down my to-do list, and I didn't get to call all of the people that I needed to for Not About Me or pitch to certain people, God is good. And so if I'm resting in that, then I know I'm going to be taken care of.
And you'll get glimmers, right, of, okay, this is what's meant to be. Because what's really great about this podcast is we interview people who've been in business for 30 years. We've interviewed people who've been in business for 3 months, right? Yes. And we'll do updates and we see the progress. And it's incredible. Like, what is a glimmer? What is a recent win that really kind of made you realize that you're on the right path with this?
Yeah, I've had a few of them. I'd say the first one was somebody came to the launch event. I did not know them. They reached out via the website and they said, I want to do a small group at my church. And I was like, absolutely. And I said, well, how many people? And she's like, maybe 10 to 12. So she came, she picked up the books, and they've been meeting weekly they're going to meet over 9 weeks. And they've been going through this together, a group of 10 women. And that's always been a vision for Not About Me, right? To go into churches and to do small groups. And so that's happening, right? And that's always something that I thought would come later down the line, but it's happening. And then we are going to be on mahogany.com. And so people will be able to purchase. You can purchase actually now. Purchase It's Not About Me on mahogany.com. And I'm grateful for Hallmark for believing and seeing in me and trusting me with that opportunity.
That is the dream.
Yes!
You are part of the Mahogany family. Okay.
Yes.
What would child you say if they knew what future you would be able to accomplish for yourself?
Oh, wow. I think the child me would say, I'm not surprised. Right? The child me.
Child you had not been beat down by life.
Child me, the world, we were going to take over the world, right? And that's the beauty of that childlike wonder, right? Because there's no fear. There's no worried about what people might necessarily think. I mean, of course, when you get into those teen years, but the child me was fearless, was like, okay, I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this. I'm going to do all the things. And so I think the child me would look back and say, I'm not surprised, sis. I knew you would.
I love that.
Yeah.
When you were a kid, did you want to be an entrepreneur? Were you an entrepreneur, or is Not About Me your first foray into business?
Not About Me is my first foray into business. My dad and my mom, my dad, though, was actually somebody who left corporate banking and decided that he was going to, and I call him the serial entrepreneur, right? At 76, my father is still, not only is he a pastor, but he's a CPA. He's been doing like he does everybody's taxes, right? Because he's a brilliant tax man.
My daddy's phone number, I'm not kidding, was 632-1040. Taxes was the business for Black men because our community needed people to do their taxes.
And before that, even Nancy, I don't know if you're familiar. My family owned a boarding care home, and I remember as a child, Christmas time, we would sometimes go to the boarding care home because my dad would give his employees Christmas off so they could be with their families. And he would stay with the individuals who were in that boarding care home. And so even from a very, very young age, I've always sort of seen what entrepreneurship looks like. And I will say my dad and mom are also my biggest supporters, right? So they're very much like, yeah, like start the business, and my dad does real estate. So like, there's always like, I have a lot of entrepreneurs in my bloodline, I feel like. And so now it was my time. Scary, but totally worth it. Totally worth it.
So when you look at this, how has your life changed is this your priority? Would you say that what percentage of your professional life is taken up working on your mompreneurship?
Oh, right now I'd say it's probably in terms of my professional life, it's 90%. I mean, it's absolutely the priority in my life right now. And I'm reminded every week something will happen positive wise, whether it's somebody will come and say, I had somebody say, oh, I have a friend that's having a 40th birthday in Cancun and she wants to gift her 20 guests your book. Right. And so it's like little things like that, like what? Okay. And 20 might not be big, but it's big for a first time entrepreneur and author, right? Who is self-published. And then the Hallmark thing happened. And then the church group happened. So every week there's something that is happening that's reminding me that this is the priority for me right now.
Well, and you have to create, you had to create like a schedule for your day? Because one of the things is when you're in the C-suite, like you have been for over a decade, right? When you have a schedule, you have a 9 a.m. Monday meeting, like you have a dress code, you have responsibilities, you have underlings. Right. How have you transitioned to making sure that you're regimented enough to do right by
this? Yeah, Nancy, that's a good, that has been the hardest part, I think, for me, if I can be in all transparency, because I am used to having an assistant who's laid out my day and my calls and who's blocked off lunch. And now owning all of that, if my kids are having a rough day, like that sort of leads into the rest of my day. And so I am learning to block off, here is when I will check email. Here is when I will make pitches. Here is when I will fulfill orders, so that I have a regimen and I'm creating a discipline about this. Here's when I'm focused on content development. And that's not going to be every day. That will be dedicated to this day, and I will do content for the upcoming week. So the scheduling has been very, 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 very difficult for me, just because I'm also working from home full time now, right? There was the time when we were all home, but then we kind of went back in the office in a couple of days. And so, you had a space where you weren't worried about, let me get the laundry done. And so I'm having to literally okay, laundry will be on these days during this time, because not just, I got to do a set of, the kids don't have this, and so I need to watch this. No, building the habits and the discipline for this business. That has been really, truly one of the hardest things for me.
Well, it's working, okay? And you will get an assistant again.
Yes.
And won't you appreciate them when they arrive?
I will. I will be like, you don't even know.
Okay, so when people go to mahogany.com and they purchase It's Not About Me, what can they expect to receive?
So they can expect to receive that. Well, first of all, it's this beautiful, it's behind me and it's here. It's this beautiful linen cover hardback. And I put so much intentionality into color and to texture, because I wanted this to be something that people could keep and that they can refer back to, and not just simply something that they wrote in and then they put aside, but something that you would want to keep out, and reflect back on. And you can find inside 30 days of content, or 30 weeks, however you want to do it, of content that is God inspired. I like to tell people it doesn't take a lot to get into the presence of God. So each day is designed for no more than 10 to 15 minutes max. The devotion itself is 50 words or less. I was in my Twitter era when I was writing it and thinking about millennial Gen Z, and they like short and quick. And so each day has the devotion, journal prompts, 3 journal prompts, as well as a mantra for that day. And then I created a playlist. Music is so important to my faith walk. It's how I worship. It's how I sort of get still. And also a lot of times it's the way in which I hear from God. And so each day has a song that accompanies it. And I created a playlist on Apple Music, Spotify, and Amazon Music for people to tap into and to easily get their worship on. So that, I think that's sort of also the distinguishing factor, is that each day includes an opportunity to worship.
And that's all on the website too. You can sign up for the website. And
Yes.
What components can people expect? Is it interactive with the journal? What are the things? And of course, this is all in evolution and development.
Yes.
But it's still very exciting, and it's an opportunity to engage.
Yes. So on the website, that's where you can purchase. There's a blog. You can purchase the journal on the website, as well as we have what I like to call our vessel t-shirts. It says, "Hi, I'm a vessel, not about me" on the front. So you can actually wear it. We also have these beautiful greeting cards that are simple, that say things like, "Without love, I am nothing. Favor ain't fair, but God's favor is." If you want to congratulate your friend. And it's not over until it's good, if you need to encourage somebody. So you can buy these bundle of greeting cards as well. And then go to our blog. I think, one of the things that's great is this website is not about me. Seriously, we have what we like to call community vessels. So there are writers who are writing content for us, who also are writing prayers, who also are producing mantras that we typically will collab with them on our social platforms, so that you can get to see who these people are and hopefully build community with them as well. So the website is a place you can come daily. You can get a prayer. You can get a blog entry and understand, like, here's 3 things you can do to easily build a routine. Because it's hard, right? Like, I often sometimes will say, okay, I'm going to get up at this time and do my devotion every day. Again, that discipline to be able to do that. And I'll go through my seasons where I'm really good at it. If I've got a devotional that I'm doing, I'll set my alarm and I'll, get through it. But then if I'm not necessarily doing a devotion, sometimes I'm like, oh, I can sleep a little extra time. Let me get another little snooze. So hopefully you're building habits. You're coming to the website. You're following us on social media as we put out little reminders for you, and hopefully encouraging you to keep going and to, like you said, just start. Write the book, sis. Start the business. Apply for
just
the
get
loan.
it going, and even if you just touch one life, it's worth it, right? And also, you're touching your kids and your hubby. How have your lives been influenced by mommy's entrepreneurship with Not About Me?
Well, I forgot to say, I do have a team. I've got 2 kids and a husband.
And that's important. You know what? You are a solo employee,
yes,
but with a wonderful volunteer staff.
Exactly. That works for free all the time. No, it's so funny. At the launch event, and we've had a few other book signing opportunities, people laugh because my daughter's working the clover and my husband's getting the bags and putting the stuff in the bags. And it's such a beautiful sight to see, and a great feeling to know that I have the love and support. At the end of the day, if nobody is proud of me, they are. They truly are, and they've been so supportive in this season. I'm trying to get my daughter to think about what does this mantra mean for her, being a teen, and how does she
You need to make this for teenagers. Oh my goodness.
I know. And so I'm trying to solicit her help for that, but you know how that is. I think, I'll come back to her. But absolutely, its impact has changed all of our lives for the better. Is it challenging? Yes, because our income is not what it used to be, but I think we all know, and when you think about, as I mentioned earlier, right, our family values of stewardship and of servant leadership and of grit and of grace, you know, they realize like, okay, mommy's living out loud what they preach. So it's been phenomenal, Nancy. It really has.
I love that. And it brings me to my next question, which is my favorite question I ask all my mompreneurs. It's called Mompreneurs Manifestation. And I want to ask you, what are you trying to make happen? What do you want to be brought into the universe on your behalf?
Oh, I love this question. I honestly have always had this crazy vision of 1 million people walking in their purpose. And if that's through Not About Me, I don't know. My desire is for everyone to be able to be at peace, to not be, you know, when we talk about, and I'm kind of I'm going to come back, but I'm going to go a little sideways here. You talk about generational wealth and you talk about what we're leaving for our children. My husband and I are very intentional that it's not just about the assets, but it's about, their spirit and their heart and their soul, and what are we leaving them with that then is going to go and impact the world, right? The material things are great, right? Not saying those are bad, but saying it's much so we are trying to focus on the heart of our children, so that when we are no longer here, that these are good stewards and good people out in this world. And so if we can all begin to walk in our purpose, and if 1 million people, that's my big crazy idea manifestation, that 1 million people will begin to say, you know what, I'm gonna drop this attitude of selfishness and thinking about myself first and trying to go get what's mine and the hustle, but I'm going to instead think about how can I change the life of my sister and my brother and my neighbor, and how can I impact the unhoused? How can I impact those that don't have? How can I impact? If 1 million of us can try to adopt that on a daily, I think this world would just be a really dope place to live. Like, it would be a really cool place to know that, like, nobody goes without, simply because 1 million people plus have said it's not about me. So I'm going to make sure they're good just as much as I would try to make sure I'm good myself.
I love it. I don't think it's crazy.
Okay.
Look, you went from your laptop to, you know, this little book living on your laptop for years to Hallmark mahogany very quickly. So we can't wait to see what comes next. Nancy. Tell us where everyone can find everything. Remind us of the opportunities that await them.
Yes. So website is www.notaboutme.co. Again, that's co, not com. And then you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook, Not About Me CO. And you can tell a friend. We will be launching a Facebook community, so you can join that. We're going to start it off pretty small, so we'll be selective in that, but we want to bring people together. And so I think it's probably going to be cohorts. So you will have, you could join one of the cohorts in our Facebook community group, and that will be a place where we will go through challenges together. We have a 30-day challenge to actually put into practice. It's not about me, to share scripture, to share each day how the devotion is speaking to you. More small groups, so be on the lookout. Right now they're in Atlanta, but we hope to go to LA and New York and Chicago. And so please follow us and stay in contact with us. You can sign up for our newsletter on our website and to be a part of this community, and to live a life that is exemplary of Christ and who he is, and to simply say it's not about me.
All right, you heard her. Thank you so much. Nancy. Melissa Ingram, an amazing mompreneur.
Oh, thank you, Nancy. Back at you, sweetie.
And everyone, thank you so much for listening to and watching Mompreneurs. As a reminder, a brand new episode goes live each Monday on Urban One Podcast Network, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Visit urban1podcast.com to learn more. That's urban1podcast.com. Mompreneurs is brought to you by the Urban One Podcast Network and MadameNoire. Created, produced, and hosted by me, Nancy Red. Executive produced by Allison McGovna and Tanya Hoffler-Moore. Produced and edited by Jiminique Miller.